Hey fellas, what's up?
Hey.
Not much. We've got an off week, Zeke.
Hey, we've got an off week. We're also missing James.
Which could be excellent.
So
we'll soon find out.
We just thought we'd start recording. We've been waiting for him for 24 minutes.
Exactly
24 minutes late. So we're just...
I'll tell you what it actually says about that guy. He doesn't value our time over his own.
Or yours, listener.
Or yours, see. How's your week been, Tommy?
Good, mate. Well, it certainly just started today,
Yeah.
but not too bad. Excited to record it.
Previous 7 days.
My previous 7 days have been excellent, in fact. Yeah. Excited about going to Brazil.
Yeah.
What do you think about it as a racetrack, Campy?
Great track.
It's honestly one of those ones that I always play on Forza. It's the track that I always go to.
Go-to.
Yeah.
It's a top 3.
I think that is one of the tracks that I always gravitate to. That and Silverstone's a bit of fun on all those.
Always a track you can get moves done on. Doesn't matter what era of cars.
Agree.
That if you get the run off the last turn into turn 1 up the straight, it is magnificent.
Very, very true.
Oh, the fearless
Listener.
the boss has rocked up.
Wet in Melbourne.
We've already started, mate.
Great, good. I'm glad.
He looks like Grimace today and he's purple.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, no one's going to be able to see this until I'm not going to bother.
No.
No,
do.
Let's take
worry
a
about it.
photo maybe
Don't
and
bother.
upload it.
You-
Save it for another
Hello,
episode.
listener. If you want to know what I'm wearing, too bad. This is...
James, if you could take 30 seconds to describe to us.
Well, no, I think Tommy T's nailed it in terms of I look like Grimace. This the purple... I'm wearing a Lakeside Drive T-shirt. The purple on screen versus the purple in real life, two very different colours.
Yeah, it's a lot of purple.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hi everyone.
hey, you have lovely rain-tussled hair.
Thank you. Yeah, I spent a good
Must be nice.
35 minutes pushing water away from my back door. It's a very poorly designed drainage situation. It's a shame you're not a plumber, really, because I really could have done with some help.
Plumbers dig too many holes for me.
I don't know. I've seen your podcast the last 4 months.
Oh,
You've been digging a fair few holes yourself, pal.
that's a podcast. Thank you so much for listening. It's time for me to drive back.
James has just seamlessly jumped in. What a professional.
Sometimes I like to think like I know what I'm doing. Do you know what I did? I have no idea where you were in the podcast, but I'll immediately enter and say I listened to our Brazilian Grand Prix review earlier today.
What'd you do that for?
Because it was actually a pretty interesting race from memory. We had Lewis Hamilton came from the back in the sprint race
Yep.
and then took Verstappen in the last couple of laps. It was genuinely a very, very good Grand Prix.
And Verstappen pushed him wide twice.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And
Yep.
there was no further investigation required, which, of course, Lewis was like, of course.
course.
Of course there isn't. This track has produced such good racing over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is the traditional home, the spiritual home of the finale of the 2022 Formula One season. It is this year as well. It's a
Yeah.
spiritual finish, but certainly, let's think about 2008. Kimi,
Yep.
Fernando, and Lewis
Yep.
all went in, and Kimi was on the least amount of points and the most sort of unlikely to win that year.
Lewis was in front.
Lewis was in front, and Fernando was
Second.
very, very close to Lewis. I think people forget just how close in that McLaren Lando. Wow, Fernando. I'll get myself sorted out. Give me another 2 minutes. Was to Lewis that whole season.
Yep.
So, and for people questioning Lewis's ability and Fernando's ability, although Fernando allegedly is driving the best he ever has in his entire career, and that's the best race he's ever had in his entire career. That's what he says after the end of each race at the moment. It's worth pointing out that they were both tussling very, very competitively, and that was Lewis's first big jump at it.
Was that 07, yeah.
Sorry, I meant 07, not 08.
Yeah, because 08 was the year that he won it after, what's his name, went to the pits in the last lap, which is the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, I still don't...
But Lewis
yeah.
I think Lewis got repaid the year that he won the championship for that last race in Brazil, going in for the lead.
Yeah.
That was a very tumultuous relationship, that Lewis-Fernando one.
Continues now. I know you don't have Twitter, although have you opened an account since your fearless leader has taken over?
No.
He's fired too many people for anyone to probably open an account at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Fernando keeps putting on winning 2 world championships is pretty good. Of course he's going to say that because that's how many he's got.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying to Lewis, oh, well, maybe your championships weren't as big a deal as Max's was. And then Lewis replies with a photo of him basically doing this on the top step to Fernando on the It's very good. It's very, very good content.
Oh, that was the year that Alonso famously, in qualifying, pitted in front of Lewis for new tyres to run a last lap, but then sat there for 30 seconds so that Lewis wouldn't be able to get his get his final lap involved. So
I miss villain era Fernando Alonso. He was just
It's a fun time.
He was just an absolute guy.
they had a great race in America that year as well.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
Oh, the old days.
Yeah.
That's the podcast.
I don't
Thanks so
think I
much
was
for
even
listening.
born then. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
F1 TV Pro, go back and watch all the classics.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I don't know what you've discussed so far, so
Nothing.
fill me in.
Literally that I like Brazil as a track on Forza.
Great.
You
I
spent
don't
about
want the official game. I just want Forza.
Yes,
Fair
correct.
enough. I understand. All right, we've got a couple of notes here. For
now.
a run sheet. First of which is the Las Vegas Grand Prix launch party happened over the weekend. Shout out to our mate James Towers at 16K Agency who did a lot of work for that. I was lucky enough to see some of the stuff they were working on.
Saw a lot
couple
of
months
donuts
ago.
on my Instagram.
Yes. So Lewis Hamilton was running Underglow, the same colour, sort of like Patronus blue Underglow on his Formula One car going down the street.
Don't
doing
you have that in your
donuts.
Navara?
He does, actually. I've seen it.
Bit of underglow.
What's Underglow?
Like
Well,
LED
like Need for
lights underneath
Speed,
the
mate.
car.
Oh, right.
Like Need for Speed.
Well, SEMA's on this weekend too over there in the States, so that would have coincided a bit too.
Yep.
Which is like the biggest car show ever.
Yes.
Which I saw our mate Rick Kelly was over there for.
Yes, he was.
Big legend.
Too many mates. None of
Too
them
many
actually
mates.
real. For you, they are. For me, they're just. I'll just say that I am.
I just love seeing the F trucks just like they've done 6-wheel versions and they're jacked up like, 15 inches with 38 inch.
Campy would buy
America's
a
different.
F950
You
if
can
it
get away
existed.
with anything.
The most numbers possible
Yeah.
is how he chooses
As long
his
as
cars.
it consumes fuel like no other, I'm all for it.
I need it to be like an Abrams tank. I need it to dump a lot of fuel to start the engine. That is a specific shout out. I
Well, you
look
can
forward.
put the switch in. You can put a switch in them so that it just dumps it all out the side without air, so it's just black smoke everywhere.
That's excellent technology there. Right
What I
there.
would do to Priuses if I rolled up beside them.
No other hybrid cars, just exclusively Priuses. You guys were first. I hate you. So
I
anyway,
believe it's
that was
called coal rolling. Check it out on YouTube. It's hilarious.
no. So that was really cool. But also, what was very, very cool that happened in Vegas the last 2 weeks is Ken Block did a gymkhana, an electric gymkhana, and also did burnouts inside a casino, which is very, 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 very cool. His level of car control is next level phenomenal. And when you turn it into a electric all-wheel drive, obviously the car behaves a lot differently compared to internal combustion. It's very cool. He obviously did a couple of takes because it looks seamless. It's not
How
just
dare
one
you.
thing, unbelievable. But some of the moves that he put off were like,
So what sort of EV was it? Was it like a hybrid? Because it's not like a Tesla, because that doesn't have a motor. It's got 4 generators on each wheel that turn them.
They're all
like,
motors.
it was an
I'm
Audi.
trying to figure out how you actually, you couldn't do that in a Tesla, could you?
Look, I don't know. I don't know enough about it, to be perfectly honest, but I know Audi and Ken developed this car together. So it's the
Nice.
Audi S1 e-tron, and he made it. Just go look on YouTube or go look on his Instagram because it's cool looking car. Obviously, Gymkhana was good with a lot of noise, and this is something that I get a lot with Extreme E. It's interesting hearing the travel and suspension and other parts of the car making things, and then it's like not as
The
cool
hum.
as like what
Yeah.
but it's still anyway. It's really, really cool. Go watch that. But it reminded me a lot of what was going on. Sergio Perez, George Russell, and Lewis Hamilton actually did it. So unlike having a whole bunch of David Coulthard turning up with his chin to
Past.
drive the
Yeah.
RB7, there's current drivers, current cars. So that was cool. Aston Martin has signed Stoffel Van Dorn as a test and reserve driver, which means
He won't get a drive.
Yes, absolutely.
Who gets to play a lot of COD.
Well, two things. Here is, because the drive market continues, there is only one seat left. Well, there's two really isn't officially because Logan Sargent hasn't yet got his super license points, but it's likely that will happen. Stoffel Van Dorn is going to... Well, this move actually does a couple of things. Firstly, it leaves Mercedes without a decent reserve driver. I think there's about 4 or 5 still in the team, and anyway, none of them are really any good. But it also removes Super Sub, who I keep forgetting drove at the beginning of the year, because every time the points table comes up, Nico Hülkenberg is down the bottom.
He did too.
He did, didn't he? Yep, in the first couple of races. Bahrain, I think, for Lance.
Forgot all about that.
So that means that he's now on a serious contention for that Haas seat, which is going to be interesting to see Hulk back.
Interesting.
Hulk back, DR out. Anyway, what kind of world are we living in? But it is also good for Van Dorn, because Aston Martin Racing Point has been the highest likelihood
and probably
reserve
still
driver
will be.
still stepping up into that role. And with Fernando Alonso now joining that team, who knows what's going to happen? He might punt someone else off inside that team and decide that he's going to go back to Renault for a
He's going to drive both
7th to 8th
cars all
time.
weekend.
Just take control of the team. There you go. I've got one more note, but it's about tyre blankets, and to be honest, I can't be bothered talking about it.
No, I'm interested about tyre blankets. What's going on there?
Tyre blankets
Tell me about
next year,
tyre
that's the thing.
blankets.
Okay, no, that's...
Just gaslighted him into talking about it and getting
I
excited.
love these conversations.
We do, though. I like tyre blankets.
tyre
I was
talk.
telling Dad about this.
Is
that
there a? Can you just press this sound effect, please? For
hot tube.
Thank you. I'll do it.
any of them.
Campy's Hot Tip.
On the fly.
It's great to see you, Ezekiel, by the way.
That is the greatest thing ever written, I think.
I actually have the TTBR theme tune as my text tone on my phone now. I love it. I love that vibe so much. Anyway, tyre blankets, good. So basically what was going to happen, it wasn't going to be a thing next year. They were going to completely remove it. The tyre test they did at COTA with the different compounds for next year and no tyre blankets or tyre blankets at different temperatures basically solidified that that's not really a good idea, because you exit the pits and all the drivers are like, oh, we have no control at all.
Cowards.
There's going to be more crashes. And Pirelli go, yes, agree that you are a coward. So what we're going to do is, all right, well, let's just take half a step to the full step. So for next year, they're doing a reduced amount of time for those tyres to sit in tyre blankets. I still think it's going to be at 70 degrees Celsius rather than 50 degrees. I told you I didn't want to talk about this, but here I am, and I'm going to get fact-checked because I'm going to stuff this up. But what they're looking to do, Pirelli, is, as I mentioned a couple of podcasts ago, they're also changing the way the compound works. Like Daniel Ricciardo doesn't like the way the car responds at the moment. If they're aware of that on the front tyres. So Pirelli are trying to change that with their compound so it's not so understeery. And with that development, looking forward to 2024, then they'll also completely remove tyre blankets. So I think it's a change of compound and the structure of the tyre, and then that will mean that they warm up faster and change some characteristics. I don't know enough about it, but all I know is that the tyre blankets will be there for next year, even though earlier this season it was
I
said
thought we
not.
were getting rid of them. Now, what I will say is we don't want to see qualifying like in F2 or F3 where they've got to drive around in a train for 10 laps to get their tyres in working condition so that they can do a good lap. So why don't we use them for
Quali.
For quali,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
and any one of the practice sessions so you can get information on what you
That's
need to
fine.
do. Blah.
Practice sessions is fine.
But the start of the race, that's what we want to see. If we find a team that can light these tyres up way quicker than some of the front runners, then that is an excellent strategy, because you could possibly get a guy coming from 16th right through to 8th. Remember what Kimi Räikkönen did on warm tyres in some of those wet races when he was driving for Alfa Romeo? I think it was then Ferrari, you know, because he lit those tyres up. Carlos Sainz did it at Mugello, I believe, as well that year, where his tyres were so much more warmer. He made like 6 or 7 passes in the first 2 laps and then dropped back. Well, that's what we need in this sport. So
You do have a formation lap, which used to be to warm your tyres up and prepare for the race. So you'd argue that going back to that formation is like, okay, you've got this whole lap to do that. Weave harder. Because at the moment, they're kind of just cruising around because their tyres are somewhat warm.
not so much
they're trying to
about-
maintain
But it's not about the
temperature.
start. I think it's more about pit stops, and because you see the tyres sitting in racks, right?
Yeah.
So it's when they're exiting the pits, the drivers are concerned about, and they get out of the end of the pit straight, and where the pits meet the track. Old mate coming out of the pits will be like, ice, and then probably punt either himself into somebody else or himself into the track, which will, into the wall, which will bring out a safety car.
just
No, it'll bring out a virtual safety car for about
Yeah,
7
it
laps
will.
first, and then they'll decide.
And then a real safety
Yeah,
car.
sorry.
Why don't we just bring back Bridgestone?
Pay
That might
them.
solve everything.
Exclusively Ferrari only, and then that's why they dominate.
Just
Great
bring
call
back
right there,
Bridgestones.
Well, that's the podcast again.
Yeah.
That's the third end of the podcast. Thanks so
Bring
much
back
for listening.
2 tyre companies. That was interesting.
Oh, it was Michelin that was with.
I like the idea of having
Ferrari,
like
wasn't it?
different.
I'm
We've
pretty
got
sure it was
different engine
Bridgestone.
providers.
I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was Bridgestone, and then Ferrari and Bridgestone really. Sorry, just having a separate conversation.
You are.
Guys, no, you
That's
guys
fine.
feel free to have a chat.
No, I'm interested
I'm pretty sure
because
it was-
this was before I was born again, so I'm trying to catch up. I'm getting a history lesson. It's fun.
Young boy, are you even of age to be on this podcast?
No.
No.
I need a permission slip.
When it says this podcast is not made for kids, it doesn't mean it's not made by kids.
Made by. No, but I think we should. Pirelli has the rights, therefore, they're chasing themselves. It's odd. I don't know if the tires have improved. We talk about going back to the Ultra, the Super Softs, all these kind of other tire compounds, which were interesting. It seems like these are very conservative, safe, middle of the road kind of tires that A, don't degrade enough, and B, don't have the difference in performance we're looking for. You'd argue that there's something in between. You want a safe tire that isn't going to blow up and hurt a driver, but what we want is tires to actually fall off a cliff performance-wise, so you're forced to make strategy calls.
I mean,
problem-
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is because also I want them to last forever so that I don't have to manage.
Well, then they
tyres.
should be to do
Minimum
okay.
2 pit
So let's
stops.
do that,
Minimum 2 or 3.
or
at least
they
3.
last forever, but they don't offer as much pace. So you can have a tire that lasts to the end of the race, but
Yeah.
it's useless pace.
Yeah, I think that
and then
would-
you go through and you've got a compound that will die quicker, but is
Tyres
way
are
faster.
irrelevant when you get teams that if you can put in 10 kilograms less of fuel and that'll save you 12 seconds over the race instead of a pit stop,
Yeah.
teams will always coast into corners.
Yep.
They'll always be nicer on their tyres in order to do so. At some
Yeah.
stage, they'll fuel save. So what you need is you need 20. You need fuel in the car when you finish, but you need to start at a minimum and say it's 160 litres, not 100 that we're at now or the 80 we're in. We just need teams to be.
this is how much you must put in.
We don't care how much you use through the Grand Prix, but
Yeah.
like,
You
we
need to
want you to
start
go.
with this much.
We want you to go flat out through the
Yep.
whole race at every change.
I agree.
You don't want fuel to be to have variables on your race strategy, and you don't want tyres to have the variables that they do now.
Yep.
And you don't want teams saving tyres in order to finish a race a bit slower
Yeah.
than what the
Or
pit
fuel
stop is.
save. Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't want. You want them flat out 120%.
I think
of
he
the time.
solved it.
Campy has always been very good at
So
solving these
true.
problems, to be perfectly honest. As much as we and
Set amount of fuel.
many other people give him shit.
I know,
He
not
does,
us.
Not
us.
us at all.
Who gives me shit?
No,
Not us.
definitely not
We've
us.
just-
Other
we've
people.
just solved that problem
Well, I
for
wouldn't
you.
have social media, so I wouldn't see it anyway.
Yeah.
You're getting Twitter soon, though. You actually make a lot of sense when it comes to that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
and have done since 2019. So
We limit these cars in every possible way about
Yeah.
how you can go fast. Why don't we limit these two things and just take the equation out of it and it'll be fine?
And then they can just go full throttle from the start of the race for the whole race.
In saying that, take the tyre blankets off at the start of the race. I don't care if they're going to scoot into people. These drivers are paid massive amounts of money. Just figure it out and get better.
Gladiator
I'm with him, to be honest.
Gladiator
Like,
style.
I would love to see the difference in skill from someone who can turn the tyres on quickly and
Someone
get
who
them
can't.
to the operating window than someone who can't and just...
Yeah, but I think also then that really will show weaknesses of cars and teams like Williams. I would think that'll push Williams further down the path.
Maybe.
I
You
don't
never know.
There is no single solution except for bringing back Bridgestone, Michelin,
Yeah.
and treaded tyres.
Treaded tyres.
Be great to have a tyre manufacturer work with every single team and then develop their tyres around each car too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like BP working with Alpine and
Yep.
Shell with Ferrari. If you've listened to Freya's podcasts, you know that that's the thing. And I had actually forgotten that they were, instead of just being a major sponsor, they actually provided the fuel and the lubricants. How
Well,
about that?
We
Would
just
make a lot
got
of
10
sense.
minutes out of tyres. I'm shocked and appalled.
Good work.
This is a good time to talk about our sponsor for this episode, which is NordVPN. Yet again, they're with us really to the end of the season, which is very, very good news. And a massive thank you to Nord for sponsoring this episode. Now, look, here's a special deal, and it's going to be for the rest of this year. You'll get 2 years at a heavily discounted rate and 4 months free. 4, not 1. I know it says 1 in the script, which is what Freya read out last episode. It's actually 4, so it's better than we
Thanks,
thought.
Ron Burgundy.
Anyway, I'm just leaving that
With
one
a
alone.
question mark. Burgundy?
But you're also as a side note, in the middle of our sponsored segment, Tommy T, you're also doing Freya's podcast this week because I've been booted yet again. She hasn't invited you.
Here Friday.
Well, yeah, it's recorded on a Thursday. That's the hot
there
tip.
you go.
But make sure you reply to a message because I'm just going to invite you on behalf because I'm getting trashed for being on that podcast and not being you. But look, if you are interested in NordVPN, look, it does a heap of things. We've said it time and time again. You can change your location. It protects your privacy. I use it when I go overseas, so I'm legitimately using it. As I said, Mark last week has taken up the offer. I know Freya's taken up the offer. I know you guys will look at taking up the offer too when your current VPN expires. It is legitimately one of the best on the market, and it's easy enough to use. I've got it on this device, I've got it on my laptops, all over the place. It just makes a lot of sense. And as I said, 2 years at a heavily discounted rate and 4 months free is actually a very, very good deal. So you can go to nordvpn.com/Lakeside Drive to have a look at that, or you can find the link in the description below. All right, I have a Discord comment of the week.
And now it's time for the Discord comment of the week.
There's a couple, actually, which is very good, much like that theme tune. The first is only just happened at about midday our time today. This is a Upshift 1 on Discord says, "Boys, there is a massive spider in my room." I think he's in France at the moment, so not an Australian spider. "It's the size of my palm. What do I do? It's on the door handle, so I can't leave." And Tilly Willy 13 has come up with what all of us as presenters here at Lakeside Drive would offer in terms of suggestions. Campy would be lock it up. You decide which spiders come into your room and the circumstances in which they do. I allegedly would yell at it. Freya would ask what its motivations are for being there. Can you inspire it to do better? Tommy T will give it a rating out of 10 using a system only known to him, and then invite it for coffee and stroopwafel. And Munnis says, just don't be there. Which is Tilly Willy 13, absolutely outstanding content. And there's some more content here too that I want to get up that I have lost. Oh no, I've lost it. It's very, very good. Yes, here we go. Nick H says that can we all agree that Campy's drag name is Yas Marina, tinfoil realness? Because we were talking in Freya's episode about... hang on, just for context. We're talking in Freya's episode about Love at First Sight, or Married at First Sight Australia, and all these people in the Cayman Islands want Australian thing.
That's when I turned off.
I did too, mentally. Someone else, Ross said there was Aussie MasterChef is where it is, and Nick says you all have never watched RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under, and it shows. And then we said that you that's your drag name.
What on earth is a drag name?
So when you go down to the drag strip and you get in your VL Commodore with your turbo and then you chuck it in, they go, Yas Marina's won the contest.
I'm so confused right now.
Which is fine.
So confused.
I'm so happy with that.
To be honest, that is that's another great place to end the show, but significantly good content for a non-race week.
Yeah.
Campy's legitimately confused.
I'm
happy with it.
No idea what
Don't
you're talking
explain
about.
it.
Excellent. Well, yeah, he's not going to bother looking it up because you'll forget about it later anyway. Okay, so look, we've talked a little bit about what's coming up in Brazil. As I mentioned, last time the Brazilian Grand Prix, Lewis absolutely stormed home to take the win. But Max Verstappen is absolutely on fire. Of course, both championships are now locked up. As I mentioned last time, Lewis is actually a Brazilian citizen now, so this is a home race for him. But it was interesting to watch. I'm not sure if you remember, but Lando had a pretty good start, was going alongside Carlos Sainz, and Sainz had nowhere to go but to pop into the wall a little bit, and he had a puncture. But then something else happened to Daniel, and anyway, the McLaren looked a bit racier, though. Just watching
Not this year, right?
No, not this year, but last year it did, at least. So, yes, I don't know what you've spoken about apart from it being a great track, but it is a great track.
No, that's all we really touched on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's an exciting track to go back to. It is definitely the end of the season because we don't acknowledge the Yas Marina. That is just a parade that happens afterwards.
Yeah, but Karun Chandok's changed the track layout last year, and
bloody
it's
legend.
going to be better.
Did he get paid a lot of money to do that?
I can only presume. only presume.
Bankings on the corner more than 5% or something.
Something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of got rid of one of the errors. I think Sergio Perez passed Lando Norris when Sergio was still in a pink car and he called it the best pass of his career. And Lando's like, oh, no, I don't like that he did that to me. And that's the pass that he calls the best pass of his career. Anyway, that section is gone. And it's now just
Yay.
a turn.
I mean, it provided a good race last year, didn't it, Campy, for Max to win?
Yeah. I suppose, if that's the way you want to look at it.
Look, the good news is, Campy, we've got today, and then there's next Monday, and then the Monday after, and that's it. That's it for podcasts for the year. And then Christmas, and then immediate F1 testing, and we've got 52 races next year.
Only 52.
And that's what it will feel like.
Easy.
Well, there you go. Cracking track, though. This is a driver's driving track, and it's one of the tracks that I hope is on the calendar every year.
Yep.
And crowd is always excellent. The thing I love about this track is, I said it before, just before Jones rocked in, doesn't matter what era you're in, always produces good racing.
Yes, sir.
You can always pass in it, even those early 2010 through to 2014 where it was really difficult to pass. This was a track you get moves done. If you get the drive out of the last turn on that straight, which is uphill into turn one, there is some massive moves always made. We've seen Ocon take Verstappen out when he was in the lead.
Yes.
They tried to punch on and Ocon ran away, the pussy. Yeah, last year's race was cracking too. I think, is it a sprint race this year?
It's absolutely a sprint race this weekend.
Hooray! Let's talk about that format, Campy.
The
What do you
third
love
and the
about
final.
sprint races?
What a shame. What a shame for the Brazilians. Shame for us fans.
Hey, it means we
Podcasters
actually
alike,
have to
listeners.
watch
Yeah,
all of the sessions because we have to watch qualifying on a Friday night. Then we have to watch sprint race. Then we have to watch the race.
Yeah, it does engage people. I'm a purist at heart.
Are
like-
you?
It's like Test cricket. I can sit and watch full 5 days of Test cricket and absolutely love it. T20 1 days, just can't do it. It's just not the same. I want to go back to an hour and a half sessions on Friday and Saturday morning, so I'll get more track time. And that 45-minute lull I talk about in every session, still loved it. Still got commentary on the
long-form
sport.
kinda
Oh, I love it. It's awesome. So I'm a purist, so I don't like these ideas. Get rid of them. Liberty Media, please.
Unfortunately, it's not going anywhere. And I think Liberty's only going to do more of these
There's more
things.
sprint races next year. Yeah,
Well,
that's
Liberty's
absolutely true.
shit, so we all know that.
Yeah. Anyway, so yes, it is a sprint race, and which means its practice 1 is on Friday, then qualifying is on Friday, then
And
practice 2 is on Saturday, then the
redundant
sprint-
practice.
redundant practice, and the sprint is on Saturday, and the race is on Sunday, which will be a whole thing. Look, I don't mind in the sprint race at Brazil because it produced some pretty good racing, and it's
Yeah.
a decent enough track and it'll be interesting to see what these cars do.
A sprint race at
around
Monza, idiotic. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think that was the one, whereas there's not enough passing.
I mean,
Danny-
it won't trust Danny
Danny
for
Rick
Danny
got
last
it
year.
done.
I mean, it did, but do you know what I mean? Traditionally, you'd say that's not one, or like Monaco, not one. Some tracks like this, maybe it is good.
All right, let's wrap this one up. Keep it tight. Predictions, who's on your podium for Brazil?
Verstappen, Lewis, Sainz.
Tommy T.
Same, but I think Leclerc in third.
Okay. Ezekiel?
What Tommy said.
I'm going to go Lewis. I'm going to go Lewis for the win here. And I think you'll see... Max hasn't had a problem with his car for such a long time, so I'm not even going to put... they're due for some kind of mechanical. So
I was thinking it. I think Lewis might win in Yas Marina because that's like
just to really do
a
it
bit.
back.
Yeah, to like see, I can win here.
Yep. Sponsored by Michael Massey. So I think Lewis, I think Charles, and I'm going to put... Oh,
So you're saying Max is out?
Yeah, I think Max is going to have an
DNF.
issue, and Sergio Perez, because, the other Red Bull should be up on the podium if Max is not on the podium. So that's it. There you go.
Do
Interesting.
we have any Daniel news yet?
No,
Still none.
He's been super positive, which is good.
he's got a new Instagram account.
Does he?
Daniel3.jpg, I'm pretty sure, is he's now... Look, by all accounts, his relationship with Lando is really, really, really good.
Yeah.
And that's awesome to see. So Lando started a new account with he was taking photos on a pretty decent camera, like the one I've got here, and Daniel started doing that too. So there's just a lot of out of focus shots of Blake at the moment, his manager. It's like a coffee cup will be in focus, but Blake next to it is absolutely not.
So funny.
It's very good. It's very good, wholesome content from DR. But he has said that Well, I mean, there's no real news. He has said that the Lewis extension for his contract isn't really going to impact him one way or another.
It's because Russell will be gone, right? 2024.
Well, I don't think he will be.
Let's pick that fight already.
Yeah, okay, fine. He won't be driving for the Silver Arrows. That's just pretty known. But I think what will happen is if he gets himself into that position, he's probably more valuable to other teams with the sim time and the other stuff that's going on at Mercedes headquarters and bringing that kind of data across. But also, if he gets in with Toto works magic. The guy is very good. So if his management company can come to an agreement with Toto to have some kind of help to keep him on the grid for 2024, that is not a bad thing. So
Toto's got sway everywhere but Red Bull. So he could get it done.
Oh, I want him to go back to Red Bull.
We'll make the call.
I think Christian would be...
Christian wanted Lando. That's the other thing that came out this week, is that they were in conversations with Lando before he signed his renewal for McLaren to drive. And Lando went, no, I'm going to stay with McLaren, which is an interesting call. He doesn't want to be Max's second driver. And
The one thing Danny Rick has spoken about, though, is that what has been consistent is there is a plan for the future and whatever he does. So
yeah, but I can't help but think the plan is we have no plan.
Yeah.
That's kind of rocking around in the back of my head. Look, the guy has a great management team. They know what they're doing. If he can't get it done, look, he's not just going to sit on the grid in the back of the grid. And fair enough too. He wants to get back towards the front. If he can't do that, then he'll just join Mika Hakkinen in taking a sabbatical from McLaren and never coming back again.
forever. Yeah.
Well, it's a great episode. Massive thank you to our patrons, of course, as well. Our patrons. I keep forgetting how to say that word. Patrons on Patreon for your consistent support. It makes a huge difference, and we really, really appreciate it too. You can see the different levels of availability in the link in the description below, and you can join our private Discord channel with the other hosts, where they do occasionally reply. Tommy T occasionally pops his head into that server, which is more than if he can remember his login for certain things like fantasy and Discord. What day is it?
Just make it Campy something 12.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. But a massive thank you to you for listening as well. I'd say watching, but we didn't set up a camera. So there you go. Enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed this still image of the beautifully purpley pink bit that Tommy T has designed. And we'll see you with Tommy T maybe for Freya's F1 Fridays this week. And then, of course, our Brazilian Grand Prix review on Monday next week. And then, or Tuesday, I should say. And then the final race of the season at Yas Queen Marina, finishing it off, will be our final race review in 2 weeks' time. And then that'll be it. We'll do a season review podcast a little later, probably early 2023, when we have enough time to have a bit of a deep breath to see what's going on and Campy can get rejuvenated by everything again. And that'll be it.
Yes.
Sounds good. Campy's cooked. Look at him.
Cooked.
Poor bugger.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it. And do what you want.
Do what you want. Why is Freya such a legend?
I'm really loud. Can you turn my headphones down a touch, please?
That's a pre-existing problem there, Campy.